What's up, guys? It's your boy Barca Boy 103. Today we're going to be reviewing the 2023 summer transfer window for Barcelona. We're going to analyze all the signings, all the ins, and also all the exits, all the players that we have sold. We're going to analyze it as a whole, and then I'm going to give you guys my prediction for the season, what trophies and how many trophies will Barcelona win. Keep in mind, since I started the channel, I have not been incorrect ever. I've gone every single season spot on, so you want to tune in for that. But before we get into it, make sure you guys smash that like button down below. Let's try to get the 200 likes in this video. Be very much appreciated. And also, if you're new, make sure you subscribe down below if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Let's start off by discussing Barcelona's signings this summer transfer window in 2023. As you all know, Barcelona signed 5 players: Ilkay Gundogan, Oriol Romeu, Inigo Martinez, Joao Cancelo, and Joao Felix. Of course, we also technically signed Vitor Roque as well, but he's not coming until later on, so I'm not going to count it right now. Gundogan was on a free transfer. Oriol Romeu was on 3.4 million. Inigo Martinez was on a free transfer, and Joao Cancelo and Joao Felix were both in on loan. So Barcelona spent a total of 3.4 million euros this transfer window. Let's start off each individual signing. Firstly, Ilkay Gundogan on a free deal is absolutely brilliant. You are signing the captain of the treble winning season from last year. Of course, he captained Man City to a treble under Pep Guardiola. He was absolutely influential in all of their title wins. Of course, scoring the FA Cup final, helped them win the Champions League, and he comes into Barcelona as a player of experience and also to elevate our midfield. He also comes in as someone who can provide coverage for Pedri, because as we all know, Pedri is very injury prone. So that, for me, excellent signing. I probably put it at 10 out of 10, honestly, because you're bringing in a player that we desperately needed last season, and you're bringing him in on a free. You could maybe bring it down a point to 9 out of 10, because there's really no longevity in this signing. You could probably get him for, what, 2 or 3 years at the absolute best, but those 2 or 3 years, you're going to get an absolutely pure quality players. Probably could say 9 out of 10 signing for Ilkay Gundogan. Oriol Romeu on 3.4 million euros. Of course, with Busquets leaving, we needed a pivot, and he was the chosen one. Of course, our other targets were not, accomplished. We had, of course, Martin Zubimendi, Joshua Kimmich, Sofiane Amrabat. There were all these names, but in the end, the club settled for Oriol Romeu. Now, looking back on it, you could say it wasn't, the most exciting and best signing we could have made in the pivot. But now, hindsight today, you're probably getting one of the best replacements for Busquets, because he understands the system, the style, the play. Yes, he's at essentially the same age as Busquets, so like Ilkay Gundogan, there's no longevity in this signing, but it's someone that's very short-term, stopgap, come in, do well for a season or two, and then move on. I would honestly rate Oriol Romeu signing at probably a 7 out of 10. I think, of course, there were other targets out there that we were trying to, acquire. I think the club did have the money, but they didn't have the power to go in for those signs. Again, Zubimendi did not want to come to Barcelona, even if we activated his release clause. Kimmich was really pushing for a move. Amrabat, the club didn't really see him as a pivot, so in theory, it wasn't someone that we wanted initially. Again, when Jordi Cruyff came out with that pivot list, he was 7th or 8th on that list. We're getting what we paid for, essentially. 3.4 million euros, come in year or two, do the job done. And to be honest, I think we all have very low expectations for Oriol Romeu, but he's come in, done very well. Of course, Classico preseason, he was an absolute beast. Or the whole entire preseason, he was doing very well against Getafe, Cadiz, Villarreal, Osasuna, and of course, Joan Laporta against Tottenham as well. He played very, very well, and you can tell that when you bring in a player who understands the system, the philosophy, the style so quickly, needs 0 to no adaptation. Of course, is from Catalonia, from La Masia. It's as if you plugged in just a quick little, someone who knows what they're doing, and it's not saying it's we're replacing for Sergio Busquets, but it's like what Busquets was like when he first came in. Understand the system, the style, the play. It's very easy for him to grow and adapt as well, and that's the same thing for Oriol Romeu. So overall, I'll probably give him his rating as a 7 out of 10 for his signing. Again, short term, his age as well, no long term in this signing, so I think he could definitely rise to an 8 or maybe a 9 out of 10 by the end of the season, but I think for now a fair rating for him is a 7 out of 10. Next up, Inigo Martinez on a free transfer. Again, he's coming to the end of his career, could say. No longevity in this deal, very short term. Like Gundogan, Romeu probably could get 2 or 3 years out of Inigo Martinez, but again, it is a free transfer. It is a center back of absolute quality that you're coming in, and he'll provide excellent backup for Araujo, for Christensen, for Koundé. You already see him now getting minutes because, of course, Christensen, he's, niggling here and there. Araujo is already injured. So this signing will definitely prove to be a good signing once we hit, November, December, January, February time. Those 4 months of just crunch time, week in, week out football. Inigo Martinez during that period will be absolutely crucial. And this is a player that Barcelona wanted for a long, long time. I remember when he were linked with him in 2016. Valverde came in 2017, wanted him. I think he moved from Real Sociedad to Athletic Club, so making that the Basque Country move, you could say. We've been linked with him a lot, and then when we become a free agent, we moved in for him. Xavi gave him the call. He picked up and he answered. Similar to Romeu, I probably could put Inigo Martinez signing as a 7 out of 10. Very, very solid. And I think his rate can definitely change based on what he does during the season. Again, Oriol Romeu, we thought he would come in as, maybe a stopgap option. He's coming and start. I think Inigo Martinez will not be starting very much in the first few weeks, but could be later on when there's injuries, maybe tactical switches from Xavi, whatever the case may be. But I think Inigo Martinez, very similar signing to Oriol Romeu. I will give him a 7 out of 10. Next up is Joao Cancelo, a player who Barcelona wanted back in January when he was available on a loan from Man City, but we got him on loan this summer. Of course, no buy option officially. I think the bidding and discussions with Man City at the end of the season will start around 25 million euros. I think you have to put Joao Cancelo signing as an 8 out of 10. It's a player that we desperately needed, and he's coming in as one of the best fullbacks in the world, both at right back and a left back, and you're basically getting him for free. Of course, you're covering his salary, which he has reduced ridiculously to join Barcelona, and also you're not paying a penny for a low loan fee, no amortization. He's just coming in with a salary covered that he has already lowered, so very low risk in this signing as well. But I think he will be absolutely crucial for Barcelona this season. I think he'll grow into the game. The only thing that I'm really worried about is his attitude issue, but I'm sure that Xavi will be able to deal with that, no worries, like he did with other players as well in the past, like Aubameyang. I think Cancelo will revolutionize Barcelona's back line. He will give us that added threat down the right hand side. Of course, last season it was just Koundé, very defensive, but with Cancelo this season will have the offensive threat down that right hand side. I think it's an absolutely brilliant signing, and I would definitely put it as around 8 out of 10 signing, but by the end of the season I would not be surprised if he becomes a 10 out of 10. And finally is Joao Felix, a player who we signed simply on the fact because he wanted to play for Barcelona. Again, it is a loan for 1 season, no buy option, no loan fees, a very similar, or you could say identical structure to the signing of Joao Cancelo. I would put Felix's signing as like probably a 6 out of 10. It's a player that was not needed, but then was needed because we kind of made room for him. We got rid of Abde and Ansu to bring him in essentially, and this is a player that's going to bring. It's a huge gamble by Laporta and Xavi as well. I don't know if Xavi really wanted him. I know for a fact that Laporta desperately wanted him, and this is a player that we're going to have to wait and see about. Of course, I've made it very clear on the channel that I'm not a fan of Joao Felix. I don't think he'll do well at Barcelona. I don't think he'll fit in that system, that style that we play. I think on the left, we've seen it so many times with center forwards. They come in, they just flop, whether it's Memphis Depay, Antoine Griezmann, Felipe Coutinho. I've seen it. I've been there, and I'm not really having high expectations for Joao Felix. If he gets double figures in either goals or assists, I would be shocked. And I also don't think he will get that. I think he'll probably get maybe 5 goals, 5 assists, somewhere in that region, unless he absolutely blows my mind, which I hope he does do. But I think for now, you have to put it at a 6 out of 10. I could probably see it by the end of the season be at 2 or 3. But I could also see it being a 7 or 8, maybe even a 9. Depends on how he plays, depends on where Xavi deploys him, and how effective Joao Felix will be. But overall, I think, Felix will probably be a 6 out of 10 signing way too early. Probably put it, average. You have to wait and see what he does. And it's a huge risk signing by the president and the sporting director. But overall, you have a 9 out of 10 signing, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 6 out of 10. So I think it's a very strong win for Barcelona. Of course, keep in mind a little bit in the back that we did also sign Vitor Roque as well. There were some holes that weren't filled, of course, that created midfielder role, maybe a competition for Alejandro Baldi down that left-hand side, because of course Marcos Alonso isn't reliable at all. And you could say with Abde being sold and Ansu being loaned out, you maybe needed another winger, another outlook as well. I think overall on these 5 signings, I think Barcelona did very well, and as a collective, I probably rate it as an 8 out of 10. Next up is, of course, the transfer window sales of 2023 for Barcelona, and of course there were quite a bit. There was a total of 16 departures from Barcelona in a different variety of ways. We're going to go through it. First, we do have Ousmane Dembele's release clause being activated. He was sold on paper for 50 million euros, but Barcelona pocketed around 35 million euros from that transfer. I'm not going to analyze these exits because a lot of them are just need to happen. I think I can definitely rate the one of Dembele. I'd probably put it at a 2 or a 3 out of 10. It's a departure that we did not need. I think Dembele was going to be absolutely influential for us this season. But he wanted more money. He wanted to go back home, and you can't really discredit that. Xavi and the players tried to keep him to keep him to stay. He didn't want to stay. It is what it is. He was the 5th captain when he left Barcelona, which is quite shocking. But nonetheless, he wanted to leave. I think the money for player valuation, of course, is very poor. I think Dembele at the time he left Barcelona with 1 year left in his deal, I'd probably value him at around 80 million euros, maybe 90 if you're pushing it. The fact that we got 35 for it is a bit poor, but of course that's what you get when you renewed his contract last summer. So it is what it is. We got better than nothing for him. If we didn't sell him now, he would have left for free next summer. We would have frozen him out. Would have had the beef between Xavi saying, "Oh, bring him back." Laporta would say, "No, bring him back, no." So better get him out of the way, get his whole entire entourage, the circus in itself. And you know what? I think now we're content with his exit, with the drama that we're gonna leave behind, and also the inconsistencies of Dembele as well. On his day, one of the best, if not the best winger in the world, 100% hold my hands up to that. But that day is very, very rare, and also, of course, his shooting is absolutely dreadful. But dribbling, taking on defenders, he's absolutely brilliant. But I'd probably put that loss at probably a 2 or 3 out of 10 because it was definitely unexpected. Next up, Antoine Griezmann for 20 million euros. Of course, we did this deal back in November, I believe, but it was finalized, of course, this summer. Look, I think for what we paid for Antoine and what we got out of it wasn't that great. Of course, the buy option was, I believe, 40, but then we got negotiated down by Atletico Madrid to 20. Again, just getting back Griezmann's wages of 700,000 euros per week would have killed the club, literally killed the club. So probably put this at an average 6. You know, it's poor from what we've done, but again, it wasn't from this board. It was from the previous retards. Next up, Franck Kessie for 12.5 million euros. For me, this is a 2 or a 3 sale, because a 3 out of 10 sale, because you are selling a player that we sold for free. So this is straight net profit. Of course, 12 million, better than 0. But the fact that the club was asking for 30, then 25, then 20. And then out of nowhere, just sold him for 12.5. It's the fee that we got for Franck Kessie is ridiculous. From Al Hilal, you could have gotten not Al Hilal, Al Ahly, sorry. You could have gotten at least 20 with add-ons. Of course, I think we got 12.5 with like 3 million add-ons, something ridiculous like that. Poor sale from Barcelona again. You could have got way more money for the player. I honestly would have rather kept Kessie than sold him for 12 million euros. I think he could have done well this season. Again, we're looking like we have a bit of holes in the midfield with no one as a backup for Oriol Romeu in the pivot. You could maybe play Gundogan there a bit, or Frankie, and then had another midfield number in Franck Kessie. Just the figure that we sold him for is absolutely poor. So I'll probably give that as a 2 or 3. Next up, probably on the same wavelength, Nico Gonzalez sold for 8.4 million euros. I'd probably put this at a 4 because I think, again, the coaching staff not only didn't trust Nico, but didn't think he was suitable enough to play in that pivot position where we wanted to play him. Again, box to box and those interior roles. We were already filled up with Pedri, Gavi, Gundogan coming in, Frankie de Jong, of course, as well. So Nico had no chance of playing, especially if the coach didn't see him as a pivot. I would have liked to see Nico given a chance at least in preseason to see how he played there, but the coaching staff didn't want that whatsoever. I would have probably paid Nico's market value before we sold him at around 20. So I think we would have probably gotten around 15 for him. That would have been fair. 10 at the absolute least. 8.4 again is very, very poor. This board, they can get rid of players, but they get rid of them for absolutely dreadful prices. So I'll probably give that sale maybe a 5 or a 4 out of 10 because he had to go, but the amount of money we got for him wasn't that great. Next up is Trincao to Sporting on a permanent transfer. Of course, he went on loan last season, then the buy option became mandatory. Again, it's a player that we do not need anymore, a player that this current board didn't see any future in him. We bought him for 30. I think overall we recuperated around 25 million euros because, of course, we didn't sell him, sorry. We loaned him to Wolves for, I think, 6 million. Then we loaned him for Sporting for 7 million. Then they bought him for 7 million. So we recuperated some fees. I think the club handled the situation very, very well of Trincao. So not too fuss about it. I'd probably put that as an average 6, 7 out of 10. I think the net loss is where the issue comes in for Trincao, and also the expectations that we did have for him when he came in, when the other president, he who must not be named, signed him. Next up, we have some free transfers. Firstly, Sergio Busquets, of course, legend. He wanted to leave. Fair enough to him, and same with Jordi Alba as well. Jordi Alba, of course, reduced his salary significantly in the final year. He gave up half of his wages to, help Barcelona with financial fair play. So both those legendas, Still sucks to see, it's nice to see them linking up into Miami, you know, giving Messi goals and assists. It's a beautiful sight to see, but you do end up missing them, of course. But I think it was the best decision for both of them to leave, and I'm glad they're in a healthy and better place as well. So I'm not going to really rate those, so it is what it is with those. Next up, Samuel Umtiti. We love to let him go on a free. We terminated his contract. Probably put this at a 6 out of 10 average because, again, his wages were detrimental. The club renewed his contract not last year, but the year before to help with our... No, it was last year. I think it was January last year to help register Memphis and, not Memphis, Aubameyang, Adama, Dani Alves. So he didn't, make a sacrifice for the club. He went on loan to Lecce, did well at Lecce, and now he's at Lille, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's a good move for all parties. Probably put an average 6 out of 10. Next up, Collado, again, also under free, but we do have a percent of a future sale. I believe 50%. We let him go to Betis for free, and he's ended up joining a, I think, Saudi club on loan for the season. Look, with Collado, I accepted to get a transfer fee for him. We were talking about 10 million at the beginning of the summer transfer window. Then we heard 5 was going to be the target. We heard we had a bid for 5. Then it was actually 2 with 3 million add-ons. I don't know where we let him go for free. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. Again, the board not getting the right amount of money for the players, but I think it was the right time for Collado to leave. He had a couple loan moves now. I think Hernandez, Elche. We thought we had something there, and it wasn't there, unfortunately. He'll be known as a legend of Barca Athletic for sure. Next up, Sergino Dest on a loan. This is a 0 out of 10 for me because he should have been sold. I mean, the fact we held on to him and took him to preseason as well, just so you know, help with the American fan base is a bit annoying. Again, he's going to be another problem next summer. Going to have to go through this whole cycle again unless he does very well at PSV. PSV do have a 10 million euro buy option, so hopefully they activate that. I wish Dest absolutely nothing but the best, so PSV can buy him. Again, this whole entire Dest saga is a 0 out of 10 for me. What we got from him as well is 0 out of 10. I would have much rather let him go for free like we did with Collado or we did with any other player, just to not deal with him again, but it is unfortunate. I don't really blame that on the board too much. It also comes down to the player as well, accepting those terms, and it looks like he didn't. So I think the board did deal with it the best way possible, but I think the delay of it, doing it, in the last month, isn't really great, so I'll probably put that like a 3 out of 10. Next up, Julian Araujo on loan to Las Palmas. I'm going to give this a very solid 8 out of 10. I think it's a great move for Julian Araujo. He's doing very well right now under Garcia Pimienta. La Liga, get the experience, similar style of play to Barcelona as well. Play week in, week out, wages covered. No worries whatsoever. I think right now it's an 8 out of 10, but it could become a 10 out of 10 by the end of the season. And the same goes for Pablo Torre. I'd probably put his as an 8 out of 10 as well. I don't know, a great place for him. Of course, right now he is struggling a bit to get into the first team permanently, but I think he will do in due course. Again, similar style of play, wages covered. I think they both have a fear clause in their contracts where they cannot play against Barcelona unless Girona or Las Palmas respectively pay a fee to Barcelona. So great moves there. Hopefully these two players go out and get some experience, first team minutes, and come back players to Barcelona. Very, very happy with those moves. Next up, Clement Lenglet, exact same boat as Sergino Dest. Probably put it at a 2 or 3 out of 10. The fact that we did this 4 days before the transfer window ended is absolutely shocking because we paid his wages from June until August, which is detrimental. Of course, he didn't go into preseason. He was just training with Barcelona. He was on the bench for the Joan Gamper in the stands, for Getafe in the stands, Cadiz in the stands, Villarreal in the stands. He was just there lingering, and he had offers. Of course, we heard that Leicester were interested, Tottenham wanted to keep him, AC Milan were in the mix. Then in the end, we heard Sevilla wanted a 2-year loan, but in the end, it was Aston Villa's Unai Emery that came and saved the day. Again, 80% of his salary is covered, so we still are paying 20%. It's essentially the exact same move as last summer. Again, the annoying part is that it's not on a permanent basis, which does suck a bit. So I'll probably put that at like a 3, 4 out of 10. Next up, Ansu. I mean, I still cannot believe he's gone on loan to Brighton. I think I'll probably put this at a 7 out of 10. I think it's a great move for him under a great team as well. A team where he can definitely start week in, week out. It's just now about breaking into that first team, get consistent minutes, and becoming the Ansu that we all know. And hopefully he does very, very well there. Next up, Eric Garcia. Last second move, transfer deadline day. Probably put this at a 5 out of 10. I don't think this is a great move for Barcelona or Eric Garcia either. I think Eric Garcia will benefit him more than the club does, but I think it's a move that just wasn't necessary, and him coming last second is a bit annoying. We could have got rid of him the entire transfer window. We rejected bids throughout the whole entire transfer window, and then last second he decided to leave. it's a bit annoying. Probably put that at 5 out of 10. And finally is Abde Ezzalzouli to Betis on deadline day for €7.5 million. I was gonna put this at a 0, maybe even a 1, but with the buyback option in there, I'll probably put it at a 3 out of 10. I think, with Abde being our plans, 99%. I remember Mateu Marito saying he's gonna stay 99%. He had meetings upon meetings upon meetings with Xavi, and as soon as he does not play one game, he throws his toys out the pram and starts crying and saying he wants to leave, which is understandable from his point of view. He has no connection to Barcelona. He's not a La Masia product, so to speak. But the fact that he's giving up so quickly is a bit annoying, in my opinion. The fact he has to request for meeting after meeting, after days, a bit toyish, bit childish, you could say. But I think that also the price is absolutely piss poor. We were talking about €30 million bids the entire summer that we did reject. We rejected, I think, a €25 million bid from the Premier League as well, $20 million from Leverkusen, and he goes for 7.5. Again, the buyback clause is in there, which is good, but if that was in there, that could have been the worst sale under this current board. So probably put that at 3 out of 10. So overall, all these sales, of course, the majority of them were needed. They've been done. I'd probably put the sales at around 5 out of 10, just below average, because I think some of the prices that we've gotten, some of the operations that we did do weren't to the best of the capabilities. I highlight Dest not being permanent, Lenglet not being permanent. We should have gotten more money for Kessie and Nico, and I think with the Dembele situation, we could have dealt with it a bit better. So overall, I think in terms of sales and what we need to do, of course, making that space for financial fair play, getting these players off the wage bill, absolutely crucial. I think in terms of transfer prices and situations, probably put this transfer exits for this summer at around 5.5, 6 out of 10. Now here is an overview for Barcelona's squad going into the 2023-2024 season. Again, keep in mind we do have Vitor Roque hopefully coming in January. I'd have some doubts about that because of FFP and all that. You just never know, but we basically have 2 players per position, which of course is fantastic, except for the pivot position, which of course we came into the summer as a priority to reinforce. We've come out with a short-term replacement and no backup whatsoever. I think with this pivot, we're going to see a lot of Ilkay Gundogan playing there if Romeu gets injured or cannot play, suspension, whatever the case may be. Maybe even Frankie de Jong. We might even see Pau Prim come in from Barca Athletic as well. But I think we do have good cover elsewhere. Of course, betting on 16-year-old Lamine Yamal on the wings is a bit risky, and also considering Gavi is going to be left side interior as well. You could maybe say Gavi's a midfielder, then you can have Gundogan there as a backup to Romeu, but he's not natural. Gundogan, I think once Vitor Roque comes in, you drop Gavi to that midfield, Vitor Roque on the left or striker, wherever you want to chuck him in there, and then you could say we do have 2 players per positions. But I think overall on the whole, the squad from last season to this season, I would say it is a touch, just a smidge of a downgrade. Of course, you lost Busquets, you lost Jordi Alba, and you lost Ousmane Dembele. You didn't really reinforce that striker position, someone to come in and provide coverage and competition for Lewandowski. He still doesn't have that now. Hoping Vitor Roque comes in January, he does have that. I think the defense you strengthened very well with Inigo Martinez and Joao Cancelo. Again, left backup for Balde isn't that great. I think the midfield is very, very solid as well. I'd probably rate the squad solid 7.5 out of 10. I think the squad that we had going into last season, that probably would have been an 8.5, maybe 9. I think we're only missing, 2 or 3 players, and that was going to be an absolute elite squad, probably one of the best squads I've seen at Barcelona. So I think we've not done poorly per se, but I think we've dealt with the situation the best we could with the resources that we did end up having. So we could say a minor downgrade, but hopefully long term this will be a major plus for Barcelona. And finally, my prediction for the 2023-2024 season. What trophies and how many trophies will Barcelona win? Now, of course, in the first season under Koeman, I predicted we'd win the Copa del Rey only. We did that. The next season after that, I predicted we'd go trophyless. We did that. The next season after that, under Xavi, I predicted we're going to win 2 trophies, and we did that. So I'm on a very, very good streak. And what is Barca boys' prediction? I would say with the squad we have and what we did last season, we have to win at least 2 trophies, but I wouldn't be surprised if we win only 1. I don't think we're going trophyless. I think 100% we will win a trophy at some point this season. The question is what? I think the Copa del Rey, you're expecting, again, like last season, minimum semi-final, hopefully challenging for that. Super Cup as well, I expect us to be in the final, hopefully challenging and winning that. La Liga, I do expect us to be in the title race, of course, and I do expect us to win it. Champions League, I think my priority, especially with the group that we currently have, we have to reach at least the quarterfinals, because that group is going to be a walk, and then the round 16 will be our first test, you could say, in the Champions League, and then we have to be in that as well. So that's the quarterfinals minimum, Champions League, La Liga, of course, top 2, Spanish Super Cup, of course, in the final, and Copa del Rey semi-final. I think what will happen this season is the same as last season. I think we will win the league, plus 1 cup. So whether the cup is Spanish Super Cup or Copa del Rey, I think a domestic treble would be a very, very good and excellent season. I think even going deep in the Champions League, especially with the group that we do have, would be a great feat. I do not think we're going to win the Champions League. I think our goal right now is to go deep and challenge, and maybe next season or the following season after that to really, really push for it and consider it a priority. I know the squad right now, in their minds, their priority is to not win the Champions League, not only win the Champions League, but go deep, so to speak. If we just won the Champions League, of course, that'd be an utter success, 100%. I mean, the thought of Barcelona winning the Champions League makes me tear up, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I think we will win the league and 1 cup just like last season. I expect it to be the domestic double in the cup and the Copa del Rey. Although in the Super Cup we do have, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, I think Real Betis or Osasuna in the semifinal, and then the final will be, of course, probably Real Madrid. So same as last season. So it's basically a one-off game in Saudi Arabia. You never know. It depends on how the teams are going into that match, injury, structure. Ancelotti might get sacked. Xavi might get sacked. You never know. But I do think my official prediction will be Barcelona winning at least 2 trophies, possibly 1 as well. I think the squad is weakened. Our rivals has strengthened. Of course, Xavi start of the season has not looked too well. Hopefully, he does adapt his system and style of play later on in the season. Hopefully, the team as well with the new signings like Gundogan, Inigo, Joao Felix, Joao Cancelo build chemistry as well, and then we become more, flowing and more dominant in the middle of the park and also creating chances and finishing them. Again, final prediction is 2 trophies for Barcelona. I think it will be the league and 1 other cup. So that was my review of Barcelona's summer transfer window of 2023. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and of course leave me your thoughts down below in the comments on everything we discussed. But the main thing I want to first say, of course, is your thoughts on Barcelona signing. What would you rate him out of 10 altogether? Your thoughts on the exit. What would you rate it all out of 10 together? Your thoughts on the squad overall. What would you rate that out of 10? And finally, your season predictions for Barcelona as well. Leave them in the comments, and we'll come back to this in a year later, and hopefully we'll see the majority of us being right. What are your thoughts on my ratings for the ins and outs, and also the season prediction as well? And of course, make sure you guys subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Take care, and Forza Barca.
Yeah.